The sunlight poured through the massive glass windows of Vitrolcore Industries, illuminating the marble floor until it gleamed like water. But even in that warm brightness, the air felt frozen. Everyone in the lobby stood silent, breaths caught, eyes fixed on the tall CEO with his perfectly pressed suit and the exhausted janitor who had paused mid-mopping, hands still gripping the old wooden handle. No one expected the CEO to stop in front of him. No one expected him to sneer. But he did. And his words cracked through the stillness like a whip. This is the hook moment, so if you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us what truly matters, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Stories of Kindness. It really helps these messages reach more hearts. The CEO, Crispin Ravel, known across the city for his icy confidence, tilted his head slightly, a smirk tugging at his lips as he looked at the janitor's faded uniform and tired eyes. "Tell me," Crispin said loudly, making sure the entire lobby heard him, "what could a janitor possibly teach someone like me about finance?" Gasps echoed across the room. The security guards exchanged awkward glances. A group of interns froze near the reception desk. And the janitor, a single father named Marlowe Jett, 43 years old, wiry, with sunbrowned skin, rough palms, and a face carved by years of sacrifice, simply blinked, resting the mop handle against his shoulder. His expression didn't shift into anger or shame, it was something heavier, something deeper, something tired but anchored by dignity. He looked up slowly and answered with a calm that sliced sharper than any raised voice. "Everything you forgot," he said, and suddenly the smirk disappeared from Crispin's mouth. That was the sentence that shook the entire lobby. That was the moment everything began to unravel. But to understand why it hit so hard, you have to know the man behind that mop. Marlowe hadn't always been a janitor. Years ago, he had been a financial analyst, quiet but brilliant, the kind of mind that saw patterns before graphs could catch up. He had a wife named Rhea, and together they raised their daughter, Alina, whose laughter could fill a home the way sunlight fills a window. But then the illness came. Rhea's sickness drained their savings quickly, too quickly for any insurance to keep up. Marlowe had burned through every investment, every emergency fund, every asset just to keep her comfortable. And when she passed, he found himself drowning in medical debt while raising a grieving 8-year-old. He had to resign from his job during the darkest months. It wasn't that he lacked skill, he simply couldn't perform through the weight of loss and responsibility. Companies want productivity, not men who walk around carrying ghosts. So when the opportunities dried up, Marlowe took whatever work could keep food on the table. Cleaning floors at Vitrolcore became his refuge, the only position that didn't require explaining why his resume suddenly collapsed in the middle. For years now, he had swept the same corridors where he once dreamed of presenting financial strategies. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. And every morning, he told Alina, now 11, that they were rebuilding one day at a time. Meanwhile, Crispin Ravel stepped into his CEO position through a very different path, inherited from a father who believed money flowed best through confidence, not compassion. Crispin had been trained to never look down, only forward. But looking down was exactly what he was doing that morning, face filled with superiority as he challenged Marlowe publicly. Yet the janitor's reply, "Everything you forgot," hung in the air like a verdict. Everyone expected Crispin to laugh or dismiss him, but something about Marlowe's tone unsettled him. Maybe it was how steady the man sounded. Maybe it was the exhaustion layered with quiet knowledge. Maybe it was the sense that this janitor had survived storms Crispin couldn't imagine. But Crispin didn't back down. He barked out a sharp, dry laugh. "And what exactly did I forget? Enlighten me." Marlowe didn't raise his voice. He didn't shift his posture. He simply spoke in the soft tone of a man who had witnessed life strip away everything except the truth. "Finance isn't just numbers," he said. "It's survival. It's sacrifice. It's choosing which bill you delay so your child can eat. It's knowing how to stretch a dollar until it screams. It's understanding consequences, not theories. You handle millions, Mr. Ravel, but you've never felt the weight of a single penny. Someone near the elevators inhaled sharply. Crispin's jaw tightened, and his eyes flickered with something like irritation mixed with embarrassment. Marlowe continued, voice unshaking. I clean these floors, yes. But don't mistake circumstance for incompetence. Some of us fell because life hit hard, not because we lacked skill. And sometimes the people you overlook have more insight than the ones you overpay. The silence after his words was thick enough to drown in. Crispin turned abruptly and walked away without a word. But everyone saw the crack in his composure. That afternoon, Marlowe worried he had made a mistake. He replayed the moment in his mind while scrubbing conference room tables, imagining Crispin calling for his dismissal. He couldn't afford to lose this job, Alina depended on every paycheck. He worked the rest of the day with a knot in his stomach, hands moving automatically through the motions of sweeping and polishing. When he went home, Alina ran into his arms like she always did, her backpack bouncing against her small shoulders. "Dad, you look tired," she said, brushing his cheek with her hand. He lied and said he was fine, he always did. They ate rice and lentils at their tiny kitchen table, sunlight pouring through the single window of their small apartment. She told him about school, about a project she was excited for, about how she wanted to help him someday the way he helped her. He smiled through the ache in his chest. She didn't know what he faced earlier. He didn't want her to. But fate had already started moving. The next morning, when Marlowe arrived at work, a message was waiting for him. The receptionist, Melora, handed him a sealed envelope with the company seal. Her eyebrows were raised in a mixture of curiosity and sympathy. "You've been requested upstairs," she whispered. Marlowe's heart dropped. He imagined security escorting him out. He imagined having to explain unemployment to Alina. Hands trembling, he took the elevator up to the executive floor. When the doors opened, he found Crispin Ravel standing near the massive windows, staring at the skyline. The CEO didn't turn immediately. "Sit," he said finally, gesturing to a chair. Marlowe sat. Crispin exhaled, and when he finally looked at Marlowe, the arrogance was strangely subdued. "Yesterday, you embarrassed me," Crispin said flatly. "And I don't like being embarrassed." Marlowe braced for impact. "But you also said something I didn't expect. Something that stuck." Crispin paced slowly, hands clasped behind his back. "Finance is survival. It's sacrifice." Those words. He paused. "I realized I've never thought about money that way." Marlowe didn't know how to respond. Crispin continued. "I looked into your file. You were a financial analyst once. A good one." His voice lost its edge. "You shouldn't be mopping floors." The words hit Marlowe harder than the insult the day before. Crispin turned fully toward him, eyes more human than they had been downstairs. "I want to learn from you," he said. "Not numbers. Perspective. How real people manage money. How different circumstances affect decisions. I realized I'm leading a company that designs financial software for families, and I've never lived anything close to what most families go through." Marlowe's breath caught. Crispin went on, "I want you to meet me twice a week. Teach me what you know. Teach me what I've been blind to. And in return," he paused, pulling out a folder. "I'm offering you a position in our financial consulting division. You'll still need training to get up to date."